What's up, guys? This is Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lantern, bringing you guys the weekly recap. This is going to be a little bit shorter of an episode than they normally are because I'm going to be touching on a lot of these points in our midpoint season recap, which is coming up. I believe the weekly recap I should be posting this on Monday, and you guys should see the midpoint season recap on Tuesday. That is going to be a very important video. It's going to cover everything that we talked about in coach profiles with all of the coaches, as well as do sort of a breakdown on playoff chances halfway through the season. Now that we're completed half of the regular season, and sort of analyze who's sort of got the best shot at things. And honestly, that's going to be really important because there's sort of a real big grouping of a middle pack right now that needs to be broken through. So, anyways, let's sort of get right into the week 6 recap, and we'll talk about move kills. So at the top of the leaderboard, we have Earthquake with 17 kills, just like it was last week at the top. Ice Beam staying in second, Scald staying in third. Scald is actually tied for third with Thunderbolt. Both of them have 13 kills. We're up to 94 unique move kills now. Things like Superpower got their first kills this week. Things like Zen Headbutt. Tectonic Rage got its first kill this week. I was blown away that no one had used Tectonic Rage before now. That also added to the unique Z move kills. That pushes us up to 8. And I believe there's 14 unique Z. Let me just double check on that. What did I say it was? There are 15 Z move kills now throughout the season, which is like really high. If I just backtrack to week 6 of last season, how many Z move kills? There were only 5 total Z move. There were only 5 total Z move kills as of week 6 of last season. So people are really putting on the pressure. With the Z moves this season, seems to be a lot more common of a bring on their sweepers to just nuke things. Then in terms of move kill leaders, Melodic still at the top. I believe it's been top since week 1 with 10 kills. So breaking the double digits. It was actually the first Pokemon this week to break double digits, and then Conkeldurr was the second to break double digits. They are currently the only 2 Pokemon that have hit double digits, but Melodic has a much better differential. Melodic is still 10 kills plus 9 differential, only dying 1 time this season. Conkeldurr is 12 kills, but it's plus 8 differential or plus 6 differential. I can't exactly remember. It's plus 8 differential, so it's not hugely better, but Kinkeldurr's died 4 times, and that's sort of why we sort by, excuse me, that's why we sort by differential, or that's why I choose to sort by differential rather than pure kills, because I think that means that Melodic has brought a lot more value to the team when it's had 10 kills, but it's died less than Conkeldurr that may have more kills and may have put on more offensive pressure, but wasn't willing to stay around and had to be sacked off clearly 4 times, maybe with or without intention. Mega Altaria there sits in a tie for third place actually, but it has more kills than Thunderous Incarnate, so it breaks the tie that way, kind of. Thunderous Incarnate moving up as well. Both of them have plus 6 differentials. Mega Altaria with 9 kills, Thunderous Incarnate with 7. Really good midseason pickup for Matt there, and I'll talk a lot more about that in the midseason recap. All right, so in terms of teams, we'll start with Jed. Jed ended up taking a loss this week to Jay in the UNC Winkles. Was that this week? Who did Jed play this week? Yep, he ended up losing to Jay in the UNC Wingles. Really unfortunate loss for Jed, considering he's now in the middle of the pack in the Hone Conference, and Jay is at the bottom of the conference. That's a little bit difficult. It's a hard pill to swallow. There, I think that is a really important matchup that he should have won and probably needed to win in the grand scheme of things, which he didn't. So we'll sort of see how that goes moving on. Honestly, he didn't really have much for Clefable, and Clefable stalled him out. That was kind of the story of that game. Austin took a really close L to Matt in the Green Bay Glycepods this week. Really close. Honestly, it could have come down to a variety of factors at the end of that game. Both teams really just had no switch-ins for the other's offensive threat. Thunderous Incarnate on Matt's side just absolutely blew through Austin's entire roster, and Victini on Austin's side blew through Matt's entire roster. So there was no real way around that for either team, and they sort of worked on dealing with that. So next up is Dom and the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't. I believe he played Phil this week. Did he play Phil? Yes, he played Phil and took an unfortunate loss there. That was a really stally game and ended up really good prediction from Phil catching Tapu Bulu with an ice punch, which ended up winning him the game. Essentially, that's what ended up winning him the game in the grand scheme of things. I believe that that was the play that won the game for Phil. Otherwise, it was just a really big stall fest, and Bandit Tapu Bulu looked like it was going to go in, but Sapsipur Goodrow was just sitting there. Um, Nacho took a loss to myself. It was kind of a close game until it wasn't, and that's about the story there. I'll go into a little bit more depth on my side. Um, Matt, again, he picked up a really close win against Austin. He's now sitting in an even record with an even differential, which is kind of funny. If you're looking at the standings, it's actually pretty funny because he is still sitting in a playoff spot, just barely sitting in a playoff spot by differential. Um, Cade picked up a win over Magic, pretty big win, which actually pulled him out of the negative differential and pushed him into third place. So finally breaking into the top three. He was still in a playoff spot regardless, but there you go. He's actually still holding the same playoff spot, but it sort of just changed a little bit. Myself, I'm now in first in the entire league once again, and first in Sinnoh Conference because Ben took a loss this week, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But in terms of my match with Nacho, I was punching holes, and then Mew swept. That was about all that it had to come to. I was sort of just like making way for Mew to do a lot of stuff, and it was all about whittling down Nacho's team, and he had nothing to get rid of Aurora Veil, so that probably could have done more work if I got rid of Celesteela earlier. Celesteela kept not getting haxed by my Scald. Scald never burnt, and then I think Discharge ended up finally paralyzing like the second time or something, but like he had also hit me with static, and it was just, yeah, that Celesteela was crazy, and it ended up paying off for me that I paralyzed it though, so there you go. Yeah, so Daniel actually is coming back really hard. He's on a 3-game winning streak now after starting the season 0-3. Made some really key drops to his team. He's an expert at using Volcanion, it seems, and he's going to start plowing through the league, I think. He's still sitting in 5th because there's a mound of people tied at 3-3, and he still has a really poor differential. But he took down Ben, who is the former um, title holder of the league, first place in the league, former first place in the league. He took down Ben. Um, who was also coincidentally on a 5-game winning streak, which is the longest that we've had this season, and Daniel stopped that in his tracks. Magic taking another L. His season is looking very grim indeed. He doesn't really have a shot at playoffs, and I'll touch on that more in the midpoint season recap. But that's sort of all up in the air now, especially after losing to both of his divisional opponents. He's looking like he's probably going to play spoiler, but again, I'll touch on that more in the season recap, or in the mid season recap. Sitting in last in the conference and actually last in the entire league. There may be a rule or something that I decide on where the last place in the regular season gets first pick next season. So this may not be the worst situation for Magic, but it also could be pretty bad. So Ben taking a loss to Daniel was really unfortunate. Daniel was looking like one of the weaker teams, and Ben was looking like a really strong team. But a really nifty Volcanion set caught his team unawares, and he ended up taking his first L of the season and moving into second place now. Just shows you how up in the air some of these divisions are. Um, Jay sitting in the second last in the entire league, finally picking up his first win over Jed. Really important win on his road to trying to make playoffs at this stage, and we'll also touch more on that in the midpoint season recap because of his goals throughout the season, and that's sort of one of them. And then Phil picking up a win over Dom, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Very important win for both of them to get, and Phil came out on top. This pushes himself into first in the home conference very safely. At the moment, he is uncontested for first at the moment. So there you go. That is going to be it for me, I believe. I'm pretty sure I don't have any more slides. Yep, that's going to be it for me for your weekly recap for week 6. Keep an eye out for the midpoint season recap because I'm going to go into a lot more detail here and talk about a lot of stuff that I didn't talk about in this video.